Last season gave us plenty of action with some impressive talent competing for the two championships. Today, we clean the slate in terms of points, but bring back all the incredibly quick champions. Will anyone be able to step up to the plate to challenge them? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the V-TEC GTR series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ryan Walker. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Barber Motorsports Park doesn't see quite as much action here on iRacing compared to places like Watkins Glen or Road America. So to help our audience who haven't seen cars race here before, let's head down to our track guide.
All right, we've got Amjad Yammer to the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Barber. Coming down to turn 1, you've got a blind, quick left-hander where it's both easy to upset the car on entry or push wide on exit. But there's no time to relax because you swing right into the Alabama roller coaster. You've got to let the car drift wide mid-corner, then cut back in, just clip that late apex, and get a good run off the turn. One more blind crest over 4, and then we're heading towards Charlotte's Web. The track drops away in the braking zone, making it very easy to overshoot. But this is the best place on track to attempt to pass, so you need to be brave on the brakes to keep from being vulnerable. Getting traction out of this hairpin will be important because you really don't want to be too wide heading into Museum Corner. You can make passes into here, but they're more like a game of chicken than anything else. It's single file through each of these 3 apexes, all the while the track is dropping away and the car is clattering over the curbs. At the bottom of the hill, the car compresses and you gotta get back to the power as soon as you feel it stick. Up next is 10 and 11. This scary fast chicane requires a big lift and a precise line, or else you'll find the car skidding into the runoff. Then swing it to the right and set the car up for 12 and 13. Here, you chuck it in the left-hander and try to slow up the car at the same time. Then the track climbs once more, but the top of the hill makes the car light right when you're trying to track out to the edge. There's no rest before you're thrown into 14 and 15, which act as one long corner ending in the latest apex you've ever seen. Hold tight to the right on the exit because the entry into the final corner will be much more important. Use the banking as much as you can to carry speed onto the front stretch, and if you kept it on the black stuff, you finished a lap around Barber.
You see around in a GT3 car, though we will be in the Audi GT3 today. But Ryan, it's going to be 3 classes out there racing today at Barber. I have to imagine this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, absolutely, with 3 classes on track around this fantastic Barber track. And some little details about the track as well. It says 2.38 miles in length, or if you prefer to use kilometres, it is 3.83. Has an amazing 16 turns, and is a 50-minute race, and also this season for the longer races, it will be 30 minutes.
And of course, this race, we have the details, a little bit more details about the race itself here as we bring those up. We are in rounds 1 and 2. This event has 2 races. There we're going to have the sprint race, and then we will have the feature race, which will be 30 minutes long, double the time. And there's the 3 different classes. They have the Audi R8, the RS3, the TCR car. The R8 is the GT3s. And then the Porsche 911 Cup is being thrown into the mix. Now, it will be a little bit of a small field here today, as unfortunately a few drivers have gotten sick. So we won't have as many that will be competing. All of them are fixed setup, though, so drivers won't have to worry about that. And as I mentioned, they have the sprint and the feature that will be taking place. There's also 3 points taken away from championship points for every 10 incidents you have out on track. So drivers will have to keep it clean, or there will be repercussions in your hunt for the championship out there today. Getting ready for the qualifying here in a moment. And Ryan, it's going to be definitely interesting in those TCRs, as that is by far the largest class. And Steph, the organizer, the Stefan Schlacker, was telling us before the race that it is stacked in terms of talent. They are fast.
The TCR class, I'm just looking at some of the names. Some of the names I recognise from other leagues. Chris Daines is one of the names I recognise, and he is really, really quick. Miguel Freitas, he's another name I recognise from other leagues in the TCR car. And also, good to see on track the Weekend Warriors' very own Jeff Jacobson on track in the TCR class. But yeah, loads of names in that class, I should say. It's worth keeping an eye on.
Well, I mean, you could say that the drivers have loads of class out there. I mean, I'm sure they would appreciate the compliment. But right now, Marcus Walton is the quickest in the warm-up. They will have this 10-minute qualifying here in a moment. That will be an open qualifying as well. And I'm seeing 18 drivers out there right now, possibly more than that will be taking place. 3 different classes and a circuit that is very technical. Hopefully everybody will be able to get a clean lap in.
Yeah, absolutely. As with other classes on track as well, it's going to make it a bit difficult to get a clean lap in, but hopefully with this smallest field, it should make it a lot more easier, and people should be a lot more cooperative, if that's even a word. But yeah, hopefully they'll help each other out in qualifying and be help each other and be a little bit aware.
Now, they will reverse the grid for the feature race. So this sprint race is not just for points. You do have to think about where this will place you come the next race in a few minutes' time after the checkered flag comes out for this one. You can see them now heading out onto track in the qualifying. And immediately a lot of the TCR cars zipping out to the front, which is certainly a bit of a headache for our Audis, which are trying to find their way out in front of them just to get that first lap clean and not have to deal with some lap traffic. Already you can see that they are quite tangled up out there. Very few long straights out here, but also it seems like passing opportunities are a bit difficult at this track, Ryan.
There's not really that many straights, and there's around this track it's very difficult to make a move. I would say the best place to make a move is probably coming up to this hairpin as we're riding board with Sasso Prozen. But yeah, coming up to this hairpin here, you can get a move done, but you've got to be very, very close to the car in front of you and get a good run on the exit of the first couple of corners.
Prozen racing in that Cup class, the Porsches. And looking right now, I believe Andrew Hitchings is going to be the first one that will be able to start a lap. No, it looks like he's got someone in front of him. That is Lucas Eidelberg out there, also in the GT3s up there in that number 128. We see Burka also coming around to start his first lap. See what they can do on their first go flying around. We are going to get some times on the board, but those will not be representative as they cross the start-finish line while in pit lane. Watch Burka come down into Charlotte's Web. We've now switched over to Marcus Walton as well here in the TCRs. Up and over the crest out of turn 4. Once again, this is that Charlotte's Web corner. Downhill braking into here, Ryan. I always found it really tough trying to get the car wound up, as we can see, as Richard Skender is experiencing.
The hairpin is... yeah, something's up. As we look at Prozen at the moment, coming across the line, and it looks like he's starting a flying lap. I thought he was on a flying lap, but yeah, he's just started it. What's bad with me, but it's coming round the long right-hander, and yeah, that hairpin joint is one of the most difficult corners to get right under braking, because you're going downhill, but you're braking at the same time, and it unsettles the car a little bit.
All right, here's Eidelberg crossing the line. First lap going to be at 25.6, but Hitchings very quick as he almost gets into the back of Eidelberg down into turn 1. Hitchings a whole, am I seeing correctly? Oh, I thought it was a lot quicker than that, so it seems like it's actually relatively close between himself and, well, it's Butler who's behind him by about 4/100ths of a second.
As just looking at Richard Skender at the moment, who crosses the line to do a 120. Yeah, he's already done that as he starts another lap, but it's a shame that there's such a small field in the Porsche Cup class, but yeah, it's good job by everyone that's turned up to race for the first round. There's a ride on board with Philip Shaw at the moment, who does a 133.2, I should say.
Walton is leading the timings on the TCRs, so he has got the provisional pole there. Richard Skender, the only one who set a time in the Cup class. But we did have one more join. Prozen out there, Morelli and Skender are all competing for that. Prozen now finally puts a time in, and he's got a 128.7. That's actually a whole second quicker than Skender.
Is a ride on board with Andrew Hitchens at the moment, coming across the line to complete a lap in the TCR class, and he does a 124.
Yeah, it doesn't go faster that time by, so he's still got time to try and increase that gap over Butler, who also does not improve. So he's probably not comfortable with how things sit there. Andrew Miller here in the TCRs. Where is he sitting? I didn't quite catch it on screen. I was trying to figure out where he is on his time. Looks like he hasn't set a time yet. Yeah, so he doesn't have a time down. Oh, but Walton is upended. Chris Daines goes quicker than the 31.5. These are on the new tire model here, Ryan, so I have to imagine the tires are just getting up to speed now.
Yeah, These cars, the TCR cars, they're on the latest tyre model at the moment, and with the latest tyre model, they do take probably about 2 laps to get up to optimum temperature and get grip into them. So the first lap won't always be the quickest, but the second lap, once they get some heat and temperature into them, that's when they'll start going quicker.
Frozen up to provisional pole here with that last lap at 27.1 now on the Porsche Cup car. Let's see, Andrew Hitchings, who's got the pole in the GT3s, comes across 22.5, quicker for him, 0.4 up on Butler. Butler's now coming across the line, and that lap didn't count. He must have had an off track somewhere, so he cannot respond this lap. He's got a little bit more time to try and improve, though.
As at the moment, Miller's coming across the line to complete another lap, and I don't think it'll be that quick, as he does a 32.3.
Chris Danes, pole sitter right now for the TCRs. The number 9 goes not quicker, 32.6 on that 31.5 is definitely a bit of a slower lap. We got more of those TCRs coming across. Marcus Walton, who was up at the top of 4, a 30.9. That's his quickest, and that's going to put him back up to the pole ahead of both Danes and Freitas, who went quicker than Chris Danes.
As at the moment in the GT3 class, it's still Andrew Hitchens on pole position with Neil Butler in second. And Tobias Berker in third, and fourth place at the moment is Lucas Eitelberg. And Callum Wright at the moment has not been able to enter the session, so he's not been able to set a lap.
Stephen McGarity finally gets one down for the TCRs. That puts him in 10th. Tobias Burka, as Butler comes through. 122.7. He goes faster, but he's still 2/10 shy of Hitchings.
That was a good lap from him, as we ride on board with Andrew Miller, who's coming around to finish another lap. And with just under 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining, these guys on track will probably only get maybe a chance to do 1 or 2 more laps at least.
Looks like Miller not going to go quicker, so he stays in 11th. So we watch Marcus Walton try to increase his pole time, but Chris Danes did manage to get a quicker one in last time, so he goes up to second. Walton goes quicker than him, so increases that gap. Meanwhile, we're watching Carlos Villa now. 6th place out in the TCRs. Last lap didn't count, as quickest as a 31.7. As he comes down and across the line. Let's see what he's got. It's a 132.3. That's not going to be faster for him. Ooh, and Hitchings up in the GT3s. He goes quicker once again, a 22.436. So that extends him slightly over Butler. Butler's not able to respond once again, as he has another off track.
As we watch Neil Butler at the moment, and looking at Philip Shaw at the moment coming across the line to complete another lap, he does not improve.
So we're still waiting for Christopher Danes to try and go faster. The number 9 is coming around the final carousel, and then turn 16, dipping down through the banking onto the front stretch. 131.101 is about 0.3 off of Marcus Walton's lap. What has he got? Oh, and it's not faster. This is going to be his last try if he keeps this last lap clean. Walton's happy with it, though. He's coming down into pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like it was a good lap from Walton. As we look back at Andrew Hitchens at the moment, coming around to complete what will be his final qualifying lap, and as he dives into the pits.
Yep, that's going to be it for him. What about Carlos Villa? He's on his last lap. This is it for him, and he is going to complete it. He's still in 6th place, down into the checkered flag. What's the 46 got underneath him? It's a 31.8. That's not quicker. So he will stay put. Next one is going to be McGarity, who finishes up. He's down in 11th in his TCR car also does not improve. A few more cars coming into pit lane who aren't happy with their final flying lap. Philip Schill, who we saw trying to get better than 7th. He's got a 31.7 on the board. Let's see if he can go any faster out there. Crosses the line. No, he cannot. Chris Dane's going to be the next one. His last attempt to try and take the pole away from Marcus Walton, and he's going to abandon it. That is it for our front row, unless Miguel Freitas, who also is going to come in. So is Morelli. They are not happy with these laps. I see Stefan Schlacher still running. He's 5th currently. Chris Howard is out there as well in the TCR. So is Connor Parise, who sits 4th outside of that second row. Looks like Schlacher's going to complete it. Parise is going to abandon his lap as he had an off there. Schlacher down into the line. Can he go higher than 5th place? No, does not improve. Looks like Chris Howard does go quicker, but he stays in 12th. And Skender up in the Porsches does not improve. He stays in 2nd. We were watching all of the TCRs so much, we didn't really pay attention to those Porsches. So no changes. That's going to be it for our grid. Let's go through the starting order. I'll take both the GT3s and the Porsches here. Andrew Hitchings. He's not Christopher Hitchings. Andrew Hitchings is on the pole there for the GT3s with Neil Butler starting in 2nd. And Tobias Burka will be P3. Lucas Eidelberg will start in 4th. Callum Wright will not start this race as he was not able to get to the session. On the pole for the Cup class, that'll be Sasso Prosen at the pole for them, with Richard Skinder starting in 2nd and Nicholas Morelli in 3rd. What about the TCR class here, Ryan?
Taking pole position in the TCRs was Marcus Walton. Alongside him in the front row is Chris Danes. Behind him in row 2 is Miguel Freitas. Connor Paris is alongside him. Stefan Slacker starts in the top 6. Carlos Vilas is alongside him. Philip Schill alongside him, and behind him is Andrew Miller. And 17th is Lois Klinkhammer. 18th is Fod Eckert. 19th was Stephen Legarity. 20th is Chris M. Howard. And rounding out the grid is Jeff Jacobson.
You see Callum Wright, who will not be starting, unfortunately, today, which is sad to see since he's usually so quick. Right now we're waiting for them to take off on the pace lap around here. This track certainly has some very unique corners around here, Ryan. One of the ones that stands out the most to me, honestly, is that museum corner, that triple apex chicane that just plunges downhill after Charlotte's Web. I've driven it in a lot of other cars, but I haven't driven it in this TCR in a front-wheel drive car. Do you think it'll be tougher for those front-wheel drive machines to try and get through there?
Quite possibly. With the TCR cars being front-wheel drive, it's these cars. I find you have to be really careful and look after the front tires in the early stages of the race, because if you push too much, you'll just destroy the front tires. But my strategy in these cars, TCR cars, would be take it easy in the early stages, and then towards the end, just start pushing.
See if anybody can save their stuff, as they like to say on the oval side, as they start to take off behind the Porsche pace car. Hitchings will have control once the pace car peels into the pit lane. No pit stops here for this 15-minute race. And we'll see if we get any lap traffic throughout it as well. Probably not as big of a factor here. And you can see some of the TCRs starting to weave to try and warm those tires up as well. So obviously they are conscious of the new tire model on there, hoping to try and get them a little bit with some heat in them. Have a good start on this race. There's that passing zone we were talking about, plunging downhill over the crest, Ryan, into Charlotte's Web.
For me, one of my favourite corners, especially in a GT3 car or just any car in general in iRacing, is one of my favourite corners. It's such a great challenge if you get it right, and you get the entry right and the exit of the corner right, it feels so rewarding. But I think it's going to be difficult in these TCR cars with them being front wheel drive, and you've got to be so patient with them on the power.
And let's not forget these Porsches as well in the Cup class. That they don't have any anti-lock brakes. They're very minimal for being the World Championship car that they run, which I kind of like, Ryan. I like to challenge the drivers, if I'm honest, and take away all the toys and things and really make it a driver's car.
Yeah, I have to say I do like the Porsche Cup car, even though I'm slow in it. But it's I like it because, like you mentioned, it's one of those cars that doesn't have anti-lock brakes or traction control or anything like that to help you out. It's all down to the driver, and it's not like how can I describe it? It's not like an old people's car where it's got loads of gadgets to help them out.
Old people's car. I'll have to remember that one. I like that term for it. It seems you've hit a nerve with our director here on that one, but they're already coming around to complete the lap, just around the last carousel. And then we will go racing for 15 minutes. Hitchings waiting for that car to be in. Is he going to go early? He's bringing them around, waiting for that green flag down through turn 16. And now he accelerates down the front stretch. Already these 4 Audi GT3 cars are single file as they send it into the first corner. That's going to be a very tame start. Let's head over to the Porsches.
Yep, good start from the three Porsches at the moment, heading into turn 1 as one of them spun round. That is Nicholas Borelli.
He's already being overtaken by the TCR class as they've already taken off, and it's Chris Danes up on the pole. He got a good start over Walton. He's being swapped as they almost come together. That's Freitas and Connor Parise behind him. Freitas is going to try and come to the inside as they break for Charlotte's Web. Oh, a little bit of contact as well. They get it sorted out, though. That's Stefan Schlock, who got on the side of Parise. Finally, mostly single file up at the front, although Walton is going to have a go down into the museum corner with Freitas taking over second.
Just looking back at the Porsches as well, it's currently in the lead on halfway around lap 1. It's Sasso Prozen's leading that class with Richard Skender in second, and Nicholas Borelli still in third.
Really all the action at the start here is between our TCR cars. The order there is Danes, Freitas, Walton, Parise, and Schlacher rounding out the top 5. Poor Morelli is just behind Schlacher, trying to pick his way through and get back up to his class. Yeah,
it was like everyone in each class has managed to make it round lap 1 in one piece, so that's a good thing. But I think most of these guys will be treating it as a sprint race, with it being only 15 minutes.
See on screen, Freitas had a challenge from Walton down through the final few corners, but was not able to make it stick. We're not missing anything with GT3s. That's Hitchings up at the front, Butler in second, third is Burka, Eidelberg fourth, and they are not close to being battling right now. Burka really has the best fight. We'll get to him in a bit. Right now we got to watch this on screen as Walton continues to try and hound Freitas for that spot back as they come down into Charlotte's Web once again. Danes almost out-braking himself in front. We couldn't see it on screen, nearly locking up the tires down into the turn.
As I think maybe Miguel Freitas is deciding to hang back at the moment and just look after his tires for maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes, but from watching Miguel Freitas, he's one of the quickest drivers in the TCR car, and he's trying to attack Chris Danes as they come through the fast left and fast right, and still close racing up at the front in this class.
Yeah, and a big bobble coming out of the first chicane back on the back stretch means that's going to give a chance to Walton to finally get through. Gets a bump from behind as he's slow through the corner for Freitas. Freitas catches it once again. Parise now sliding through. So 2 positions lost very quickly from Freitas. Let's stay on this battle before we go to replay. Stefan Schlacher going to take advantage of it. 3 positions down for poor Miguel Freitas. He's going to try and get it right back as he comes across the line, but it's just not a great place to pass here into turn 1, so he falls back.
Yeah, it's a difficult section to try and make a pass, that fast left and fast right. I think Miguel just got caught out a little bit by the closing speed and just being so close to another car in front of him that he bumped the car in front by accident. But he's still going. I thought Miguel was going to try and go for a move up into the hairpin there.
What's interesting about this is the Porsches are so closely matched that Morelli has not been able to pick his way through quite yet. Here he goes, finally. He's going to manage to get by Schlacher and Freitas and just puts himself between them. As up at the front, we might want to check in on our leaders of the TCRs because here comes Walton on Danes.
It was like Walton's trying to get the move done. He's got a run on Chris Danes, but he's going on the outside, which is a bit risky. But we decide to back out of it and try and... I thought there was going to be contact.
They're getting into this touring car class because this is definitely how you tend to see touring cars race. A bit of bumping and banging, and Danes holds on to it, but this allows Paris to close up behind. You can see he is now threatening on Walton after he falls back off of the number 9 machine. Another lap done and only 10 minutes left to go. We're a third of the way through the race.
As this pack in the TCR class up at the front is still really close. It's still Danes leading from Walton, from Paris, from Slacker.
Watch from on board Paris now. Walton under threat. He's going to hold the middle of the road. So Paris backs off to the outside, but he's good on the brakes. Look at him really start to gain ground almost once again, banging wheels as they go side by side through Charlotte's Web. Walton has the outside of what will be Museum Corner. Paris, as they're going to be interrupted by the Porsche of Morelli sticking his nose through. Walton still going to try and hold onto it. But Morelli goes off course as once again they make contact. Paris is going to manage to make the move stick. He gets second place.
That incident with the Porsche going off in the grass, I think that helped. It helped a little bit, and it's allowed Paris up into second place. But Chris Danes is starting to build up a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, Danes is loving this for sure. So it's gotten him a gap. But we look at Prosen now. Still being challenged, we should say, by Skinder. Even though he's about a second and a half back, he's keeping him honest. So let's make sure not to make any sort of mistakes because Skinder could certainly pounce on him at a moment's notice.
Yep, as right on board with Skinder at the moment, heading into the hairpin and just watching the leader lock up a little bit. That's another thing with these Porsches as well, that you've got to be really gentle under braking. Otherwise, if you brake too hard, the rear end can snap on you and you can just end up spinning around. So it's a very, very tough.
Meanwhile, Morelli still trying to get by these slower class cars. That mistake at the start of the race really set the tone for him. Paris simultaneously under threat from Walton. Morelli's going to try and get through. Last time this didn't work because he outbraked himself here into Museum Corner. This time it looks like he's able to keep it clean. Again,
yep.
He's not racing for points with these cars. He's just trying to get to the rest of the class. Yeah,
Morelli's got to be very, very careful. Like you say, Joe, he's not racing in the same class as them. It's a completely different class. He's got to be careful and think about maybe just finish the race and pick up points. I mean, yeah, third place is not where you want to be, but in class anyway. But it's just think of the points and think of the long game.
This battle for second in the TCRs just won't go away for Walton and Paris. Onto the front stretch once again. Just not going to have much of anything down into that first corner. Finally, Morelli is able to see some clear track in front of him and stretch his legs out, but the damage has been done. He's a whole 24 seconds behind Skinder, who is second in those Porsches.
As we're still watching this battle for second place between Walton and Paris, it's still close between these guys, but these guys scrapping amongst themselves is kind of allowing Chris Danes to just maintain that gap at the moment as they head into the hairpin, and they've got to watch out for this pack behind as well with Slacker and Freitas as well.
You know, that's a good point because Stefan Schlacker's only about a second behind. So this group back there is certainly threatening as well if we have any more squabbles, which we almost did between Walton. Makes a little more contact with Parise. Didn't quite see it on screen, but Parise is obviously holding up that number 12.
Yeah, it looks like Walton's quicker at the moment, maybe, but I think I don't know if it's setup related or not, but Parise is just able to stay in front at the moment, especially on the straights and through this twisty section.
Oh, and we had contact just behind them. Schlacker and Freitas came together. That was coming up through 14. They're very lucky to be able to come out the other side of that one. So Freitas backs off of Stefan. Let's take a look at a replay of that, actually.
As it looks like... oh, sorry, Joe.
I was going to say, you'll see it after the crest here. Schlacker maybe just a little slow. Freitas eager to try and get by. Oh. Wow. Gave him just enough space as we come back live. And as I said, they both are able to keep running after that.
Yeah, that was a bit close for comfort there, but look, they're both still managing to keep going. But ever so slightly, they're closing up in the top three. It might be worth Slacker and Freitas maybe possibly working together.
We had 3 wide back with Chris Howard, Klinkhammer, and Vila coming through Charlotte's Web. Let's get a replay of this. This starts with, believe it was Howard getting overtaken by Klinkhammer. Let's take a look at the replay. There you see. And that just opens the door for Via to pull a move on both of them. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, that was... I was about to say, that was an awesome move as well. That was like taking candy from a baby.
Let's give a little bit of love to the battle for second in the GT3s. Neil Butler and Tobias Burka are coming up on traffic. Oh, was there an incident here with McGarity? I think there was. McGarity had a big wreck coming over the crest. Sometimes heard it referred to as the leap here. So the 157, who we're going to watch the replay on, just dips his wheels off. He's going to be lapped here by our leader in the GT3s. I wonder if that put him off a little bit, just distracted him. Oh, yep, there he goes and into the tires.
The one thing I did notice, so that's the front end doesn't seem that damaged as well, considering it was a front end impact. But from the laps I've done with this car and this I guess you could call it trash test or damaged.
The battle for the lead is on. Oh, and we saw someone off there in the GT3s. Not sure who that was. It was Burka who actually went off, but just as that was happening, the battle for the lead in the GCRs was erupting as well. And actually, Marcus Walton just got touched as they are just all over the place here. 3 wide coming into the carousel. I don't think this is going to work out. That's Walton to the inside with Schlacker next to him now. Freitas is the one that backs out of it in the red machine, and Walton is all out of sorts. That car might be damaged.
Quite possibly. That made me a bit nervous watching that, but this is fantastic racing, Joe, in the TCR class, and there's fantastic racing in this class throughout the field.
And it looks like it all sorted out now. So Danes is still your leader. Parise is now up in the second. Schlacker's found himself in third in all of this. Freitas gets bumped up to fourth, and Walton falls to P5. The incident we saw before was Burka and Butler battling for that second place down through Museum Corner in the GT3s. And Freitas is going to go for it once again as he tries to attack Schlacker, but it doesn't quite work. Now they're going to be interrupted, though, because our leader in the GT3s is coming through.
Yep, these guys have to watch out as Schlacker runs wide a little bit through the chicane.
That's going to be a slowdown penalty for sure. So is Freitas going to have this handed over to him on a silver platter? Not quite. Maybe he's trying to serve it here where he can't get by. This is going to slow them both up. So Walton now with a head of steam going to go by Freitas. Maybe. Oh, they come together. Freitas tries to hold on to it. Drifting through the corner, but he slides off the course. Walton is going to take the place as the GT3 cars continue to try to pick their way through.
Blimey, that was
That was Walton getting spun by the GT3 car of Burka. Burka falls to third as Butler finds himself in second. No, I think he was already in second. Just going to correct myself. And that's the white flag, by the way, for Hitchings. Oh, my goodness.
As we want to say, hits in the... Yeah. Jesus, what a way to kick off the last lap.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd like this race to be done at this point, and thankfully he's gotten by, I believe. Yeah, that was all of the TCRs. So finally he's got some clear track in front of him. Danes is our leader in those TCRs. Prosen leads the Cup cars. He's already got the white flag as well. So he will be coming around to finish his last lap. Watching the battle now for 6 with the TCRs. This is going to be their last opportunity, last lap for them. And we might not be able to watch them all that much because Andrew Hitchings is coming around the final corner. The number 14 didn't have a whole lot of dramas, but when he did, they were certainly hair-raising for him. But he's still going to take the victory here in round 1 for the V-TEC series. Looks like Chris Danes coming down to the line as well. Your victor, less than a second ahead of Paris. Some immense pressure for the number 9, but he manages to take it home here in the first round. Prosen still got a long way to go. Meanwhile, McGarity on screen trying to challenge Klinkhammer, but he's just not quite close enough. Sasso Prosen. We mentioned Skender holding on, but he eventually dropped away even more. It was about 5 seconds between them at the line as Prosen takes the win here at Barber. All right, that's going to take us to a quick break here. We'll come back with more racing. We still have round 2 here to go, race 2 of today. So stick around as we take a short break here on GSRC. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. We just watched round 1 of the V-TEC GTR series, and it was Andrew Hitchings who came away with the win. There's about 4 seconds between himself and Neil Butler. Could have been a little bit wider of a gap, but he had to take his time to be very careful going through the TCR traffic there at the very end. Butler in second with Tobias Burka finishing third and last on the podium. Last driver to take part in the GT3 class here up at the top was Lucas Eidelberg finishing in fourth. Winner in the Cup class, the Porsche Cup cars, Sasso Prosen had the measure of the field today, winning that with Richard Skinder about 5 seconds behind him when all was said and done. Nicholas Morelli, a long ways back, but honestly, as I said early, the tone was set by his mistake. On the first lap, he got caught up in the traffic of the TCR cars and he couldn't get through. Cost him so much time, but he still was third of the three here today. What about the TCR class here?
So taking the win in the TCR class was Chris Daines. Finishing in second was Conor Paris. Rounding out the top three was our very own Stefan Slacker. Finishing in fourth was Philip Schill. Finishing in fifth, Miguel M. Freitas. Andrew Miller finishing in sixth. Carlos Vila finishing in seventh. Eighth was Philip Eckert. And yeah, that was about it, as my iRacing's just crashed, Joe. My apologies.
That's okay. Jeff Jacobson, Luis Klinkhammer, Stephen McGarity, Chris Howard, and Marcus Walton round out the field. Walton, a DNF, unfortunately, despite his speed. He had a horrible day. And it looks like we've got Stefan Schlacker, third place finisher in the TCR, is ready to talk to us. So, Steph, you were in the thick of things. There was just action all around. Talk about your perspective of all the battles on track.
Joe, quite honestly, I have no clue how I was able to get all of this. Just, I would say, extremely lucky to get through all of the problems that the TCR top had. I mean, I was a little bit involved in some kerfuffles, like that 3 wide with Walton and Freitasch, but to be honest, I'm extremely happy about that third place because it looked rather dim in the practice.
Yeah, I'd say you made do with what you had. What were the tires like, though, getting those warmed up in race conditions? Was it tough to get them to hook up? Did you kind of have to be very gentle on the first few laps, or did they get up to speed pretty quickly?
Well, the good thing about the TCR is that actually it's very good on the baseline setup, so that was a plus point, because last season in this season we switched from baseline of iRacing to a custom baseline that I do for the R8 and the Porsche 911. However, because the baseline is so good in the Audi TCR, I didn't need to make a setup for this series, so really tells how well the iRacing guys developed that TCR to really get it up to a very good baseline already that you can develop off.
All right, real quick before you go, you got a little taste of the traffic here at the very end. Obviously, with it being twice as long, you'll get twice the traffic next race here coming up in a few minutes. Did you learn anything that you think will help you next time around?
Not really, because I only got overtaken by 2-3 cars. It doesn't really play into much that I've seen so far. But TCR-wise, I have seen that a few lines I can adjust in the race. But for the TCR itself, it's all going to be about that tire wear.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on how everybody's treating him. That was Stefan Schlacker, third place in the TCR class. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the second race here, so stick around because we've got more to come here at Barber Motorsports Park. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. We just watched the first race, the 15-minute sprint race here in the V-TEC GTR series. Now we're getting ready for the 30-minute feature. They are going to be re-gridding the cars, and then we will get going here in a moment. Here's the race details for what we are about to see. As we mentioned a little bit before, we are in the second race of today, as we do have two of them, and they both count for points, and it is a fixed setup. And there's your three classes, the GT3 cars, the TCR cars, and the Porsche Cup cars. And they have to watch out for those incidents. Ryan, we saw quite a bit of action in trying to lap those TCR cars, at least when the GT3 class caught them. Now, we didn't get to see the Cup cars catch and lap them, but we did see Morelli get stuck behind them and have to try to get through. Now, he didn't have blue flags, mind you, but it looked really tough for him to try and get by. So I wonder, when those Porsches catch the TCR cars, is that going to be a real headache?
Yeah, we seen with Morelli in race 1, he was having issues getting by, excuse me, some of the TCR traffic and made a couple of mistakes. But with these multi-class races, you've kind of just got to wait and try and pass in a safe way, in a safe place. But with these races not being like an endurance race, and this one race only being 30 minutes, it's some of these drivers might still treat it as a sprint, but on the other hand, you've got to treat it as an endurance race in a way, just because there's traffic battling and having their own race, and if you make a silly move, you can end up possibly ruining it.
Should be moving over to the grid here soon enough. We're just waiting for everybody to be in the session, and then the drivers will get going as we take a glance at one of our TCR cars working their way around. Freight is setting currently the fastest lap here in the warm-up, although that won't mean a whole lot, as the not everybody is able to get a time in quite yet. They're still kind of logging in. Excuse me. And we're waiting on two more drivers, it sounds like, then we'll be able to get going. So don't just disregard the clock up in the corner. That is the full time they are allotted to try and get back into the session. But we will get going relatively quickly here. It'll be another warm-up lap that they will have to try and work their way around behind the pace car. This museum corner, as we see Hitchings diving through, Ryan, that proved to be pretty tricky, it seemed, for quite a few drivers today.
Absolutely, especially the Porsche Cup cars as well, with them not having anything like ABS or traction control like we mentioned before. It's kind of, with the Porsche Cup car, you've got to be very, very smooth with your steering inputs, and also you've got to be careful over the curbs.
Yeah, there's a few curbs that are relatively tall. Curbs, I guess, as you would say. It was like how some of the Scottish commentators would always call those that. Nicholas Morelli out there. They're going to be joined in that Porsche class, I believe, by Callum Wright has joined in. I know he was in the GT3's last race and didn't actually get to start the race, but it sounds like it might have been an accident that he hopped into this car, but since he didn't start that race last round, he's just going to have to give it a go, and I don't think we'll mind too much, because that'll mean 4 Porsches out there now, so it increases the field.
Oh, as Mr. Wright goes for a spin on the pit exit and nudges the wall, but manages to keep going. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this longer race, Joe. It should be interesting to watch and see what sort of tactics that people use, especially in the TCR as well. They try and go for it from the off, or save the tyres for the closing stage of the race, and then try and go for it.
They just got the 1-minute warning here. Callum Wright, who is going to be slotted into the back of that Porsche field, has had almost no practice in this car, so he's going to have to learn as he goes. Be fascinating to see how that number 1 machine handles things. Watching Callum's progress here as he tiptoes his way through Museum Corner. A little bit of a car off in front. That's Jeff Jacobson himself still having trouble through Museum Turn. Down the back half of the course, Goes to leads in elevation. That's a big spin for right and a big hit. So there goes his warm-up. He's done for that. Go over the grid here in a second once they start gridding up. Checkered flag now has been waved. So next session is starting, which is our race session. Letting them grid up as we get ready to get going. And it's going to be Lucas Eidelberg on the pole, with Tobias Burka starting in second place. Remember, they have reversed them from their finishing order in the first round. Neil Butler will be starting in third, and Andrew Hitchings, who won last race, he'll be slotted to the back of the four of them. Nicholas Morelli starts P5 with Richard Skender starting in sixth overall. Second in his class, Sasso Prosen will be starting in third. And then Callum Wright will be slotted to the back of them. I think he will be allowed to run up to the front, up ahead of those TCR cars, even though he is gridded behind them. What about the TCR cars here, Ryan?
TCRs, so it'll be Marcus Walton starting in pole position. Chris Howard will be starting in second. On row 2 and third, there will be Stephen McGarity and Lewis Klinkhammer. Jeff Jacobson starting on behind them. Philip Eckert starts in the as iRacing plays up. Starting in 6th is Philip Eckert, Carlos Veal in 7th, Andrew Miller starts in 8th. 9th will be Miguel M. Freitas, 10th is Philip Schill, 11th will be Stefan Slacker, 12th place will be Connor Paris, and rounding out the grid is Chris Dens in 13th.
Now, here's what's interesting is Walton started on the pole last race, and he's going to start on the pole again because of his DNF last round. Now, normally I would say this would give him quite the advantage over the field here, Ryan, but he started with that advantage last time. So I wonder if it really is. It seemed like he struggled at the start.
Yeah, he seemed to take a while to get into it. I don't know if it was maybe just getting into the zone or into the groove or whatever. But yeah, he seemed to struggle a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on in this race.
Also worthy of note is it's going to be a lot harder for these TCR cars to deal with this regrid, considering they have 13 of them out running versus the 4 that we've got in both the GT3s and the Porsche Cups. You can see those slightly smaller fields have something of an easier time trying to get their way to the front if you are a fast car. Granted, you have to imagine that whoever's sitting on the pole in each of the classes is going to fight at least to try and retain it for a little while. Seeing a little bit of weaving and working the brakes in those TCR cars to try to get the tires warmed up. I believe, if I understand correctly, let me double check on this. The Porsche Cup cars also have the new tire model. Do they not? Double check on that.
I believe the new Porsche, the Porsche Cup car has the latest tire model. So, as far as I'm aware, but I could be wrong.
From what I understand, they do. So, with that being the World Championship car, makes sense that they want to get that freshest and latest iteration out there. But right now, we've already got the GT3s coming around the final carousel as our Porsche pace car is going to duck into pit lane, let them go. Heidelberg has control of the field. Last time we saw them take off just after turn 16. Is he going to pull a similar move? Well, he tried to. Oh, he checks him up. He waits just a little bit longer, and that catches out Burka. This is going to allow both Butler and Hitchings to have a run. Try and look at second places. They go 3 wide down to the corner, and Burka loses out. He manages to catch the car, but he goes off track in the process. Let's go to the Porsche start.
As they're just coming through turn 1 at the moment and coming into the long right-hander, it looks like it looks like they've managed to make it through in one piece. And yeah, I have to say that Berker kind of shot himself in the foot there trying to back the pack up in the GT3 class.
We had an incident already in the TCRs. Philip Eckert got spun off the track in the first corner, but up at the front of them, Marcus Walton is well clear of Chris Howard. Oh, and we had more problems back there. This is Paris and Villa. Two of our quick drivers had a problem coming off of turn 4, and they found the barrier. Paris already taken a tow. I think we got a replay of this second incident. Let's take a look here. Ooh. So it looks like, it looks like there was an incident in front of them that Villa was trying to avoid. So that started with a little bit of contact with Jeff Jacobson, so he was slow. Villa tried to dodge to the side, and unfortunately, it was Paris who was beside him.
Yeah, it looks like, as you say, it looks like Jacobson, there was a bit of contact, and the Villa and Paris tried to slow down a little bit and just got caught out and ended up getting tangled up with each other, and unfortunately that's hampered their race.
Meanwhile, our winner from last round in the Porsches is actually struggling a little bit. He can't quite get by Callum Wright, but they did just overtake Nicholas Morelli, who had an off. This is for second now in the Porsches. So we are watching our leader there. Oh, and that's Skinder with an off. Our leader in the Porsches is going to hand it over. So Callum Wright, despite having almost no experience in this car, is suddenly leading his class.
Unbelievable. And I was just watching Skinder as well. It looks like he might have just carried too much speed into the hairpin and unfortunately ran wide. But yeah, Callum Wright up into the lead, and considering he's not done any practice with this car, he's actually doing pretty well at the moment. Oh, is he just? Oh.
Well, there shows his inexperience as he clobbers the curb, and Sasso Prosen is up to the front. In one lap, he goes from 4th in this class to the lead. Can he run away with it once again?
I was just watching Wright as well. It looks like he might have just took too much curb. It's like I said before, if you take too much curb, or you've got to watch the curbs with this car, otherwise it gets unsettled. But yeah, at the moment it's allowed the Prosen up into the lead.
Let's go to third, and the TCR's McGarity is under threat from a lot of fast drivers. Freitas is in there. Clink Cameras behind. Schlocker's coming through the field. Chris Danes, winner of last round, is up to 7th at the tail of this train. You can see a few of them looking down to the inside, but nothing doing down into that first turn. This is all behind Walton, who's got a handy gap of about 2.5 seconds over Chris Howard, who you can see ahead right now. A look to the inside on McGarity, and Freitas is going to be able to slip into 3rd. Behind them, a little bit of action as Schlocker tries to overtake Clinkhammer, but doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, that was a good move by Freitas to get it stopped before up into the hairpin. He managed to make the move and up.
Schlocker brave into the corner, and Museum Corner is going to gift him a position, potentially. Yes, he gets it done over Klinkhammer. Up ahead, Howard under threat because Freitas manages to get a good exit off of Museum Turn, and he's going to be able to finish the job there in the chicane. Howard now going to be passed by McGarity as well. He falls to 4th place. Look to the inside from Schlocker, but he runs out of track, and wow, sending up the inside and running into him. Klinkhammer and Howard come together. Looks like Howard's able to keep going, but Klinkhammer comes to a halt.
Yeah, he's coming to Museum Turn, and it looks like he just lost it on the curb and just went into the side of another car, and yeah, that was just unfortunate, but it looks like that curb just spat him out a little bit.
Very unfortunate for them. That cost him a little bit of time to our leader because Freitas is now 4.5 seconds behind, but he is up into 2nd place, so he can run his own pace. We see the number 99 on screen now. Oh, behind, big dive down from Chris Danes, and I think that was on Schlocker. A little bit of contact. Schlocker gave him space, so it's going to be a drag race up to Museum Corner. Who's going to be braver? Looks like Schlacher braver on the brakes. Can he get it woed up? Maybe a little bit of an over-under from Danes. Not quite there. Nicely done by Stefan in the 08. He holds on to P4.
That was a beautiful move from Stefan. He managed to get it stopping into the chicane, and Danes tried to do the over-under and unfortunately couldn't do it, but Steph up into P4 in class.
Whoa, with a big slide though now, and Chris Danes is easily going to be able to take that one back. Steph keeping his foot down and getting out of it. Let's watch a replay on that one. Oh, there's that curve again you were just talking about, Ryan.
It looks like he just took too much curb, or he just unsettled the car, and Steph had to save it, but good car control from him, and he's still running in the P5.
Meanwhile, the battle for the lead in the GT3 class up at the very top is relatively close. Hitching's been staying right behind his teammate Butler, and there's roughly half a second between them as they come across to start lap 6. We've only had one DNF so far with Connor Paris, but poor Carlos Villa has been taking a lot of repairs. Not sure if he'll get back out, and I might have to take that back because we may have just lost Callum Wright. I'm checking to see if this was an accident or connection problems. Connection problems. He disappeared. Well, that is a shame for the great job he was doing. I believe he was in second at the time. He continued to stay on this fight for the lead in the GT3s. Neil Butler's keeping him at arm's length at least. Let's go to the battle for third place. McGarity, despite struggling quite a bit in the first race, has been holding on to top spots for quite a while. I don't know that he'll be able to hold off Danes for all that longer with the run that he's got down into turn 1. A little bit of a blink there from McGarity with a connection issue, but regardless, Danes gets it done clean and now moves himself into the podium.
As Chris Danes on the podium, and the next car in front of him is in second place is Miguel M. Freitas, and yeah, Chris is really quick with his car, so I'll be intrigued to see if he can close that gap down to Miguel.
Let's watch from Dane's perspective here. He now tries to catch up to Miguel Freitas, who has not been gaining on Walton, by the way. It's about a 6-second gap up to Marcus. So really, the number 12 has been grabbing this opportunity with both hands. He's not going to let another pole position slip away from him. He's on board with GTR. See how aggressive the drivers have to be. Let's see if this one catches Danes out, though, because this corner thus far has really claimed a number of victims. Nice and smooth for the number 9.
Yeah, I was just noticing that Chris Danes, he doesn't try to attack the curbs. He actually drives round them, which I think is a good move for the TCR car as well, and how sketchy these cars can be at times over the bumps of the curbs.
Heading up to Schlacher now, as he's got a nice little battle with McGarity, and he's going to look to the inside. He's given space. Great job by both of them. I thought they were coming together there. Oh, but there's a little bit of contact now into the Alabama roller coaster. So McGarity holds on to 4th place. Schlacher gets a better run off the turn, tries to get his nose in around the outside of 4, inside of Charlotte's Web. He's got it in there as they get into the braking. Can he seal the deal? Yes, he does. P4 now for the 08s.
Good move by Steph yet again. He managed to get that move done. I think he started off on the exit of turn 2. Managed to get a run up into the hairpin and got the move done up into P4 for Steph.
Oh, bad news. It wasn't internet connection problems for Callum Wright. Apparently, with him moving up to the Porsches, he was given a black flag for passing under yellow. It was never cleared, so he was disqualified a little bit unceremoniously there. Back up to the leaders between Butler and Hitchings. Worth noting, in the background, you can see a green and yellow number 71 GT3 car. That's Tobias Burka, staying within reach. They've dropped Eidelberg. He's about 9 seconds behind, so since his issues, he's not been able to get back into this. As I think, are we having scheduled stops now? I see Philip Schill coming in. I don't think he had any issues, so as the geodesic driver comes down to his stall, gets his service, is he going to take tires? No tires. All right, so there's the first call. Not willing to take off the warmed up tires on this TCR car, wants to keep them on. So is Marcus Walton maybe potentially going to respond? Is he paying attention to the fact that pit stops has started in his class, or is he just stay out there and keep chugging?
Hey, I would say if I was Marcus, I would maybe try and stay out as long as possible, try and get to maybe the 15-minute remaining mark, or just round about that and then dive into the pits. He's got a good gap at the moment to Miguel Freitas behind him.
Oh, we got to go to Bias Burka. Bias Burka's stopped at a very awful spot right now. He manages to not be hit. He was lapping the traffic of the TCR cars and just lost control. I think he touched the grass. If we can get a replay here of him as he tries to get it turned around. Yeah, so you'll see it right here. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it looks like he might have tried to do he just caught the grass on the outside into Museum Turn and just spun.
And who was that went by there? That was close moments. I think that was Stefan Schlacker, actually. Schlacker had to take avoiding action. Let's look at Schlacker's view, because this is a blind corner, too. Sees him spinning a bit. Oh, great heads up there. Great car control, because that thing was actually getting sideways on him.
Yeah, that certainly would have woken Steph up, coming through Museum Turn to see a parked GT3 car in the middle of the track, but luckily managed to avoid it and save the car as well at the same time.
And Sasso Prosen, who leads our Porsche Cups, has just been doing his own thing all alone. By the way, Neil Butler nearly had an off of his own trying to go by our leader in the TCRs. Butler manages to hold on to the lead over Hitchings because Hitchings just caught up. This was maybe about 40 seconds ago, coming through the first chicane on the backstretch. He's trying to pick a side. Yeah, he even got on the brakes briefly. Walton was just trying to hold his line, and then you could see as well Hitchings, the only reason that Butler didn't get by is Hitchings also had a bit of an awkward moment there through the chicane.
As we're back live watching the two leaders in the GT3 class, and yeah, they're in a bit of no man's land at the moment, so at the moment they can just scrap them amongst themselves and if they want to, but it looks like they're more than happy to sit where they are.
Yeah, it's a long ways up to Richard Skender, who's the next lapped car that they'll hit, who's in the third in the Porsches. I wonder how far back the Porsches are from trying to lap. Looks like they're a long ways because I see Philip Schill being the next one. We know he had a pit stop, so he's way behind the rest of the TCR cars. Did we mention that Freitas had a stop? As we take a look at Jacobson now with a nice little battle. It looks like we did not. So Miguel Freitas has taken what looks like a scheduled stop. He's back out on track. Chris Howard has been in and out, but I think this was unscheduled because he was in for a whole 30 seconds, unless he took tires, and that was what caused him to be long. Let's see, we'll try and look into that. Because that was Eckert, I think, on screen who had a little bit of an off there. Or no, that was Jacobson back there.
Yep, on board with Jacobson at the moment, and a familiar name we recognise from the Weekend Warriors League in the Spec Racer Ford, and not always been the quickest driver, but he's more than a consistent pair of hands.
Eckert heading into pit lane. Now this pit lane, this is one of those that we talk about from time to time, Ryan, that the drivers really have to practice that entry.
As Stefan Slacker's in the pits and just finished his pit stop, which was around about 10.1 seconds.
It's about the same time as Freitas, who goes on by, so Freitas stays ahead of Schlacker. Phil Eckert down, and is he going to take tires? Let's watch here. Didn't look like he took tires. All right, leader in the Porsches. Sasso Prosen is down on pit lane. Looks like Morelli's going to join him. No tires for Prosen.
It looks like
9 second stop for him. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, with regards to the pit stops, it looks like it will just be fuel only for most of these guys, with it just being a 30-minute race as the GT3 leaders come round to lap the Porsche Cup leader, Sasso.
And now that he is pitted, that obviously set him backwards, but it's still Butler ahead of Hitchings, who we ride on board with Hitchings currently. Or no, we were on board with Prosen there. Skinder returns, still third in his class, a ways away from Morelli, who's a whole 9 seconds back from Prosen. So really not a lot of action down there. Oh, Jeff Jacobson tries to come in and pit, and he just about botched it. This brings us back to that point that I was trying to make earlier, Ryan, about practicing pit entry here at Barber.
Yeah, this pit entry is so difficult to get right, especially because it's kind of a weird line you have to take. Yeah, Jacobson just about bins it on the entry, but manages to just keep it out. But this entry is so difficult to get right. I've crashed a few times in the Skip Barber series and the SRF, and it's you've got to be very careful on the entry.
Does he have some damage on the car? He didn't take tires. 15 seconds. That's not enough time for tires to be changed, so something odd there for the 140. Maybe he just took more fuel than he needed.
Quite possibly, or as like I've just heard as well, he might have had damage possibly.
Did we lose Tobias Burka? Oh, Tobias Burka. Oh, he spears off the track and hits the wall. I can't tell if this is a hardware issue or if he legitimately lost the car. If we rewind it, maybe about a minute ago. Looks like, unfortunately, we won't be able to find the replay, it looks like. So this was coming through 12 and 13, just kind of speared through and went right into the wall, and now he's done for the day.
As Chris Daines is in the pits as well from third place, and it looks like it'll be fuel only for him, and the pit stop is about 11.8 seconds.
Now, he was trying to race with Freitas before, but Freitas just goes by as Daines is exiting the pit, and Miguel is a long ways ahead. In fact, Stefan Schlacker is coming up behind Chris Daines. There it is on screen now, and Daines barely sneaks out ahead of Steph.
Yeah, that was a good stop from Chris Daines. He might have just took a little bit less fuel than Stefan, but he managed to get back out in front of him, still in fourth place. And I wonder if Steph can keep with Chris as well. They could be on for a battle for the final podium spot.
From what I'm seeing, Freitas was in Daines was in not Freitas. Daines was in 2 seconds longer than Schlacker. So that was a bit of a long stop for the number 9, and that might be what allowed the 08 to gain on him as much as he did. Meanwhile, we've jumped back to the battle for the lead in the GT3s. Hitchings and Butler. Have they been riding in formation since they're teammates, or is this a legitimate battle? They no longer have Burka to worry about, with him having a DNF, and Eidelberg is a whole 25 seconds back. So this is a 2-horse race. Sounds like we have a pit stop for Walton. There you see him heading back out. Decent stop, 11.5 seconds. Not the quickest, Miller also pitting in from second place. He should hand that second back to Freitas now.
As Walton comes out of the pits, and he's well ahead of second and third place. And yeah, it looks like if Walton just keeps it together and gets to the finish, he should possibly take.
Miller is another one with a relatively long stop, about 15 seconds, which that ties in with McGarity and Jacobson, both having about the same amount of time. In fact, McGarity just went by there, you see on screen. So Schlacher and Danes fighting for third, trying to get another podium, 2 in a row. The GT3 leaders going through, and Schlacher thought about trying to maybe duck in there, but Danes very tight with Hitchings, letting him just sneak by and then ducks it into the apex.
That was good, a good opportunistic chance there by Stephanie. Tried to use the traffic, the GT3 traffic to his advantage, and he didn't manage to get a move done, but he's maybe just sitting there letting Chris know that he's there and might just wait until the closing stages of the race to try and make a move for third place.
Ooh. Contact between Schlacher and Danes around turn 14. He's still right up on top of him, almost gives him another bump. And it looks like they're now going to go by the pitting Andrew Hitchings, who is down on the lane. So what kind of stop is he going to have? He's the first of our GT3s to pit in this race. Oh, and he misses his stall. Well, that is going to be critical considering they've been so close together, he and Butler.
Yeah, this is going to maybe it's going to allow his teammate through to take the lead, and just looking out for his teammate. I thought it was his teammate going by there, but it's a TCR car. But it looks like he might have just came out. Yes, came out in second place.
Yeah, remember Butler was ahead before he pitted, but this will extend the gap. Flashing his lights, hoping to get through a lot of the traffic here, which is certainly causing quite a bit of a headache. That was Eckert, McGarity, and Miller all fighting for position. Heidelberg, who's yet to stop, also going to go on by. McGarity giving him a wide berth and then shutting the door before Miller can slide through.
As I'm just watching the battle at the moment for the final podium spot in the TCR class. It's still going on between Chris Danes and Stefan Schlacher, and it's still really close. As you'll look at the Marelli in the Porsche Cup class as well, and just going through some traffic.
Butler is in. Neil Butler has found his pit stall. Hitchings just coming around out of the final corner as Butler's already out. What's the gap going to be? Remember, this was about 0.4 of a second before as timing and scoring starts to settle in. You're looking at now a whole 4 seconds between Butler and Hitchings. The 14 is going to have to hustle in these final 5 minutes if he wants to try and take the win.
Absolutely.
As Heidelberg pits. Interestingly, he had the longest stop of any of them. It was very close between Butler and Hitchings, just about 6 seconds for that splash and dash. That leaves our closest battle on track as third for the TCRs. Danes has it, Schlacher wants it, but who's going to take it once they get the checkered flag? Oh, and Schlacher a little bit off into the grass, keeps his foot down and doesn't lose hardly any time.
Yeah, it looks like Steph is pushing really hard at the moment to try and get his podium position off Chris, but Chris is putting up a great defensive drive at the moment and just not doing anything silly. He's just doing what he needs to do, and Steph, I don't think he'll be letting it go that easy.
Steph holding in the tire tracks. They've got the leader in the GT3s coming up behind him, Neil Butler. Oh, and Hitchens is on the go. Wow, Hitchens is closing at a quick rate. He's got it down to less than 3 seconds. I don't know if this is helped by traffic as Steph runs into the back of Danes just as Neil is trying to lap them, being held up going around the outside of Charlotte's Web. So now it's down to 2 seconds between them.
Yeah, he's really pushing it at the moment after that pit stop. Ooh. Dane's issues for Dane.
Yeah, that was down through Museum Corner, having to catch the car. And that, I think that was another slight bit of contact between himself and Schlacher. I've lost count how many times they've actually come together. Hitchens lost all that ground pretty quickly. Back up to almost 4 seconds, trying to overtake the Porsche Cup car as we ride on board with him now, dealing with the two battling TCRs, settling out this podium position. As quick as Hitchens is, he is just having a hell of a time here with traffic as Schlacher looks to the inside but gets denied down to the final corner.
Yeah, as the second place GT3 car goes by them, and the
wide into the first turn is not going to work out, and that is going to be Danes who gets shoved out wide. Still, they haven't sorted out as they come together side to side. Danes gets slid into the Porsche, and that is Prost. That's our leader. Prosen gets overtaken by Morelli, who is now up to the front with very little time left. We're watching the replay. That all started when Schlacher got into the left rear of Danes, and Danes couldn't control it. His nose went right into the side of Prosen.
Yeah, it was a bit risky from Prosen to go free wide there, and I think he should have waited, as these TCR cars are notorious for understeering wide, but that's the way it goes in multi-class racing sometimes.
Morelli's got to be grinning ear to ear because he's got a 4-second lead with 2 minutes left to go on the clock. Hitchens, who did eventually get by, has got 7 seconds up to Butler. So Neil is looking very handy. Walton, by the way, an update on our leader in the TCRs, 6.5 seconds ahead of Miguel Freitas, who's not been able to close down on him. And then in all of this, Danes and Schlacher are still together trying to sort out this third spot.
Considering they had that incident with the Porsche Cup leader as well, they're still, like you said, they're still close together, and this is a fantastic battle, and I think this is going to go down to the last lap as Schlacher just about goes into the back of Dane, but he manages to avoid that, and as they head up to the hairpin, Schlacher might have a run, but on the other hand, I don't think he's close enough.
He must have some sort of sponsor deal on bodywork because he doesn't seem to care about it so much as he once again gets inches away from the back of Chris Danes. When are we going to get this white flag here? Yeah, next time by will be white flag for Neil Butler. Wow, Prosen has enough damage from that contact that he is in pit lane, so Skinder's going to be promoted to second now. This is a wild turn of events here at the very end of the feature race today.
Yeah, consider.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Butler's just crossed the line to start the final lap, so yeah, it's Butler, if he holds on, he'll take the win in GT3, but this battle for the final podium position in TCR is going right down to the wire.
Yeah, Neil Butler certainly had the measure of things as we ride on board now with Stefan Schlacher chasing Danes, and Morelli goes on through much cleaner than what we saw before with our former leader there for this class, the Porsche Cup class, still right on top of Danes. Stefan Schlacher trying to hassle him, trying to find a way through, but Chris is not allowing him any sort of chance to seal the deal.
Danes goes defensive. Stefan tries to go round the outside, but he can't get it done. He tries to do the over and under, but Chris Danes defends the inside line and defends it beautifully.
They have another go. They come down to Museum corner, I expect, and yes, he does try and dive it in, and he gets into the side of him. Both of them go off track. We'll have to come back to that replay a little bit later because Neil Butler has come out of the final turn and is going to take the win here today. Next one in line is going to be Marcus Walton. A whole 9-second gap back to Miguel Freitas between himself and second in that TCR class. He may have had a miserable first race, but the feature today, which is worth more points, is going to give a nice handy boost to the number 12, who wins at Barber. Nick Morelli coming around just behind him. The 195 got gifted the victory a little bit, but I'm sure he'll take it. The win goes to him here at Barber. Danes took third. Schlacher took fourth. What happened here? Danes didn't cover him off. Go ahead.
No, I'll let you finish, Joe.
He didn't cover him off, and I expected Schlacher to try and stick his nose in. It's the last lap. He's close to him. It's a hard call. I don't know if... he turned in right as Steph tried to go for the move. So, to me, I'd say racing incident. I don't know. What do you think, Ryan?
That's a difficult one to be honest. I don't like to lay the blame on anyone, or when it comes to these sort of things, I don't know what to say. But I think it's just two drivers racing hard for the final podium spot, and Chris Danes was in front into the museum turn. But I would say it's a racing incident, and there was nothing intentional.
So we're going to take a quick break and try and see if we can figure out how we feel about things at the end there, but come back soon because we will have interviews up after this break, and as well as the unofficial results. And on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. We just watched the feature race of today, round 2 in the V-TEC GTR series. And boy, was this a stunner. It certainly gave us some action out on track, and the results leave Neil Butler with the victory in the GT3s. Andrew Hitchings, though he was quick at the end, the traffic just did not work in his favor. He had to settle for second place, but not a bad climb considering he was regrid at the back of this four-car field. Eidelberg wound up in third. And then we had a DNF from Tobias Burka, unfortunately, who finished fourth in that class. Nicholas Morelli, the winner in the Porsche Cup class. He came from fourth on the grid. Not bad from him, with Richard Skinder finishing in fifth. Morelli inherited it after Sasso Prosen DNF'd because of lapping traffic. Unfortunately, just got tangled up in things. And Prosen well down the order. You'll see him a little bit later. And Callum Wright as well, unfortunately, for the DNF in those courses. Let's go to the TCRs now.
Yeah, taking a command and win in the TCRs was Marcus Walton. Pretty much on his own for most of the race. Miguel Freitas finished in second place after a great drive. But that battle for third place and the final step on the podium was just fantastic to watch, and it went down to the last lap with Chris Daines coming out on top, with Stefan Slacken in fourth, and rounding out the top five was Philip Schill.
And then you can see from there a lot of drivers unfortunately not having it as great of a race, as there was a lot of action even though it was only 30 minutes. But first up, we've got Marcus Walton here taking the win in the TCRs, in stark contrast to finishing last in the sprint race. Marcus, tell us about the difference between the two races, because in the first one it looked like you had a little trouble getting either the tires up to temperature or just the car going at the start.
Oh yes, the difference was extreme. Second race, I admit, it was a bit boring and an easy win because I had that gap, because of the reverse grid. And about the first race, we go green at the same time, first and second. So yeah, I don't remember who it was, but second place had a better start, and that's it. Very intense and a bit unlucky later. The contact with the GT3 can happen, but I had a lot of fun in the first race, more actually than in the second.
We saw that the lapping cars certainly seemed to be a bit tricky around here, both with the Porsches and the GT3s. What are your thoughts on that now that they've added the Porsche into the mix? Does that increase the difficulty, or is it about the same as last season?
Nah, it's about the same. I don't see a big difference, no.
All right. Well, congratulations on at least getting a victory and making up for that poor finish in the sprint round. Anybody you'd like to thank before you go?
Stefan, of course, for organizing this. And that's it.
All right. That's Marcus Walton. Man, a few words for the thank yous as he finishes in first in the TCRs. Winner in the Cup class was Nicholas Morelli, and Ryan has caught up to him.
Yeah, Nicholas taking the win in the feature race, and Nicholas, that looked like you were on your own in second place, I believe it was, until drama struck towards the end of the race and took out the leader. How was that race from your view, and how was round 1 and 2 for you in general?
Yeah, round 2 is definitely heads and tails different from round 1. I can say that. Round 1, slipping the right rear off into the grass on turn 1 put me back amongst the TCRs. And I really hadn't had much practice at Barber, so I was trying to be as respectful as possible and just kind of stay out of their race. So round 1 was not the best for me, but it was clean, and it was a third place, so I'm okay with that one. Round 2 shows you exactly what inverse grids can do. It puts you up there. It kind of messes up the grid, so people start getting put out of place a little bit, and they start having to fight and push where they might not have to before. So for me, it was definitely a little bit more of a kind of lonely race. For a while there, I was in third and kind of chasing down second, and then people started making mistakes. You slowly start to work your way forward. And I was really kind of consigning myself to that being a good second place and having an okay first and second rounds. And then out of nowhere, I was focusing on a little mistake I had, and my crew chief said, "You're in first." And I said, okay, well, let's just focus and head down and bring this one home. So I'm as thrilled as can be that one fell into our lap, but we're going to focus on having a little more pace for next round.
I mean, when the leader had issues towards the end, what was going through your mind when you heard that he had issues? Was it just keep cool, keep focused, and just do your own thing? Or was it just get to the end and get over the line and we'll just see what happens?
I was really trying to focus on just not making mistakes. Like I said, I hadn't had much practice here, so I was really trying to focus on hitting my marks, not overdriving the car, not trying to stay too far ahead of the guys behind. I could see that they were staying about 4 or 6 seconds back, so I was just trying to keep my buffer, not push, not do anything crazy, and just get across the line. If they caught me, they still had to pass me, and Barber's a real tough, tight track, so I had that in my advantage. It was a real close bit to the end of the race to the checkered, so they didn't have much time to catch me. So I was just focused on keeping my head down, keeping cool, hitting my marks, and getting to the checkered flag. And it worked out for us. We managed to come home with the checkered, so I'm happy.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us in the booth.
Real quick, before we let Nick go, Ryan, I happened to notice, Nick, that you had a CU sticker on there. I actually am up in Fort Collins myself, so just wondered if you were up here in Colorado or if you're actually racing from Texas.
I am racing from Texas, but I have family in Colorado, and my family has a cabin in Colorado that we're up and down from all the time. So we are up in and out of Colorado very often.
Oh, well, glad to have another sort of Coloradoan out there on track. Just I couldn't help but let that one go because you don't often, you don't often see a sticker like that show up on cars here on iRacing. Well, thanks for talking to us, Nick, and hope you have another good race next round.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for hosting us. See you next time.
No problem. That was Nick Morelli. Up next, we've got Lucas Eidelberg. Third, took a podium up there in the GT3 class, but didn't quite have too many people to race with towards the end. Lucas, it looked like you were kind of in no man's land on that feature race.
Oh yes, that it was. It was my first podium. I have never taken that I make a podium at the future race. Yes. Still, I cannot believe that I have the third place in this race.
Well, that obviously is going to feel pretty good then. Do you think you could repeat the feat next round, though, when we go to Road Atlanta? Is that a track that you consider a strong one for you?
Oh, Road Atlanta, maybe also a bit practice and we will see what had happened. But Road Atlanta, for me, a hard track, but I will do my best.
Yeah, that is a very difficult circuit through there. But this one is certainly not an easy one itself. Very, very technical. Did you like having Barber open things up? Would you consider this one a track that you enjoy? Because I know it tends to divide drivers.
Yes, Barber Motorsport is not my favorite track. It was very difficult. I have made many, many mistakes, but I have given my best and I'm happy with the third place.
All right. Well, again, congratulations with the third. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you once again and there's more podiums in your future, sure.
Thank you very much.
Up next, Ryan Walker, I believe, has caught up with Chris Dames, third place with a wild end to his race.
Chris Danes joining us in the booth and taking a very, very well-deserved third place after that terrific battle with Stefan Slacker for most of the race. Chris, how was that from your view?
Which part? The race in general? Yeah, good. I mean, to be honest, my first practice today was literally 15 minutes before qualifying in race one, so I didn't really have much time to practice. So I just literally, first race I was quite impressed with because I had some average pace. But yeah, got the win nicely on that one. But yeah, the 30-minute race, I always struggle to keep these tyres in check, so it's always very difficult for myself to try and manage the tyres because I'm not used to. I'm still not on the new tyre model properly. So yeah, it was good. Good racing. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, watching that battle towards the end of the race, or the incident towards the end of the race. Heading into Museum Turn, I think it was. What was your views on it? Was it just a racing incident and hard racing, or what did you think?
Well, I mean, going into Turn 1, I saw a Porsche 911 coming up me inside, so I've left him room and then see Stefan make it 3 wide on the inside. So he was very late on the brakes into Turn 1, which he's entitled to, of course, and then I got a bit bit of a push on the grass out of turn 1. So I had the inside line after coming off the grass. I was just stuck on the inside, tried to keep it as tight as possible, but unfortunately with Stefan looking to his left, trying to let the GT3 car past and trying to gauge how much space was between us, then it's always going to end in a bit of contact there, isn't it? I mean, these cars are so difficult, especially with worn tyres after 30 minutes or so, to try and keep the nose turning in. Unfortunately for Stefan, I think he lost out towards the end of that after making a bold move into the, I think it was the chicane type bit. I don't know, I can't quite remember where it was, but yeah, and it was hard racing, it was good racing. Bit of contact here and there, but I'm not going to grumble too much, put it that way.
Also, before we let you go, are you looking forward to the next round at Road Atlanta?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Road Atlanta is, again, it's similar to this, really, isn't it? With a lot of blind corners, blind crests. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I quite like Road Atlanta as well. I go well there, and I used to race there in the TCR last season. I'd done quite well there some. But again, fixed setup's a different ball game, isn't it? So tyres tend to die on this fixed setup. So looking forward to it. Yeah, we'll see how we go.
And lastly, anyone that you want to give a shout out to, or any thanks you want to give out?
Yeah, Stefan for organising the league and keeping everyone informed on certain things and answering my questions at the very last minute, because I didn't read a few things on the Discord chat. So thanks, Stefan, for answering questions like that and keeping you cool with me, because I know I could be annoying. But and you guys at GSRC as well, I appreciate the live feed, and obviously my team and my teammates as well, who one of them couldn't make it tonight, but he'll be back for the next round.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Chris, and we look forward to seeing you on track at Road Atlanta and the next round.
Nice one. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
It was Chris Daines who managed to come home third here in the feature race. But we're going to close up with a big thank you to the V-TEC GTR series for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, because our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram is at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store that's got a link in the description below. It's just simply gsrc.storenv.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All you got to do is scroll below our video, and there's a big red button that says subscribe that you got to click. Next race, as we mentioned, we're heading down to Georgia for Road Atlanta. That'll be Thursday, February 20th, 2 weeks from now at 1:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.